Hello everybody, Susan here with Pumpkin Hill Stampers. I have a Stampin' Show and Tell project to share with you today. I'm going to be doing a technique referred to as a floating background. So we're going to create an element that kind of looks like it's hovering on the front of our card. So it's really not difficult, but it looks really cool. So you'll see how it goes when I do the project. So today I'm using a cherry cobbler as my base paired with Sahara sand. I'm going to use cherry cobbler ink, and then I'm going to use the leaves of holly for my sentiment, and then I'm using the coordinating dies for my sentiment label. Okay? Alright, so let's just go ahead and get started. So my basic card is cherry cobbler base, standard size, 8.5 by 5.5, those of us here in the States. So there's my base. Then I have a layer trimmed down 4 by 5.25, and what I did was I embossed it with my Fern 3D embossing folder just to give that a little bit of texture, but it's going to be a color on color layer because I want a little texture there, but I don't really want to steal a show from our floating background. Okay, so how do I make my floating background? So we're going to take a piece of vellum, and I have 3 strips of 1 inch by 4 inch designer series paper. Okay, so what I do is I'm going to end up trimming it with my Stylish Shapes 3-inch circle. So the way I did this was I put my circle down first and I laid my vellum over the top so I can see the size of the die I'm working with. Okay, this is a large one, but if you wanted to do this with a smaller die, this would be how you could see how many strips you wanted to put on. Now I'm using 3 strips of DSP, but you could use thinner strips. They also don't all have to be matching. You could change it up and you could do thinner strips. So if you wanted more strips across your floating background, you could do that. So I just added some liquid adhesive to the back of that strip and I kind of put it across the center there. And now I'm going to repeat that with my other 2 strips of DSP, and I'm just going to leave a gap between them so that they will appear to be floating when we put them on our card. Okay, so I've got 3 strips. I've covered up my circle. Now what I'll do is I'll take this and I'm going to go to my die cutting machine and trim that out. So I've done that already. Here's my piece all trimmed out. And that's going to become the next layer on our project. Okay, now I haven't put anything down yet, but there's my next layer. Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is I took Sahara sand and I have my label die from the Leaves of Holly coordinating dies, and I've die cut that. So I've got my label. Now I wanted to go with Sahara sand for a little contrast to the background, but I didn't want to go with bright white. I wanted a little tamer, so I went with the Sahara sand as a neutral. Now I'm using cherry cobbler ink because that's the color of my background paper, and I'm just going to stamp Season's Greetings right on to my label. It's a very simple stamping, right? So far the DSP and embossing folder and the dies have done the heavy lifting on this project. So that's really pretty simple. Alright, so then this is going to be kind of added there, and it's all going to create that floating effect. So let's go ahead and put it together. So first I'm going to put my embossed layer down with my liquid adhesive. If you wanted to pop it up on dimensionals, you could. Alright, it's your project, make it your way. But I'm going to put this one down nice and snug. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is add my floating background. Now you could do it this way, but I'm going to go this way just for contrast with my label. So this one I'm going to put on with dimensionals because I want it to be floating. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add dimensionals to the back of my vellum behind the strips that will be covered up. Okay, so I've got this. Peel all those backers off. One more. There we go. Okay, so now this one I'm going to put on like this. So it appears as though those strips are kind of just floating on that background. Okay, so next I've got my sentiment, and I'm just going to go ahead and put dimensionals on this, but I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to put dimensionals on the bottom, but I'm going to use adhesive on the top because the adhesive is going to overlap on that other piece, which is already lifted up, so I don't want the top to be too high on the card. So 2 different adhesive on this one. Okay, so that's just going to go there. And there we go. Then I have cut another piece of Sahara sand for my center. I decided to stick with that neutral for my center section instead of going back to vanilla or white like I normally do. Let's keep all our color schemes right in line with each other. Alright, so there you go, guys. Remember, you can check out the details on my blog if you need to print out instructions or if you like to read how I did various things. And there will be photos. Remember, you can like and subscribe to my video channel here, and you can leave me comments over on my blog. Any questions, let me know. And be sure to check out the new promos that'll be coming out in November, plus my class for fun folds that's starting in November as well. Alright everybody, thanks so much for your time today. Do some fun stamping. Bye-bye.